chapter 34. The Te Yotcha LaShamayim. Hashem says to Moshe, chapter 34, extend your hand upon the heaven. Omer Azal, it's quoted in Midrash, HaChoshech HaYoshom Shishi Yomim. Through 6 days of darkness. The plague of darkness was 6 days. Shenemar, V'choshech Afelo B'chol Eretz Mitzrayim. There was intense darkness throughout the land of Egypt. Shloshi Yomim Lo Ro Ish Es Ochiv Lo Komu Ish Mitachtov. Shloshis Yomim. 3 days, one did not see his fellow, and one did not stand up from his location for 3 days. It mentions 3 days 3 times, twice. It seems to be, if it's the same 3 days, mention 3 days once. What does it mention in each context 3 days? Shloshi Yom Rishonim Lo Ro Ish Es Ochiv. The level of intensity of darkness the first 3 days was only visually. They were not able to see one another. Ushloshi Yom Achronim, the last 3 days of darkness, Omed Lo Yochol Sheves, the person was in a standing position. He wasn't able to sit. Yoshiv Lo Yochol Lamot, and if he was sitting, he wasn't able to stand. He was like literally locked into his location. It wasn't just visual darkness. The darkness had a substance to it, and therefore that they were actually locked into the darkness. Every makkah, each plague, its level was what? Its duration was 7 days. This plague was only 6 days. Rashi cites this. So one was the 7th day. When the Egyptians were pursuing us, it says there was a cloud to separate us, and they were traveling in the dark. They were like groping in the dark. That was the 7th day of darkness that was meant to happen initially. So Hashem took the 7th day and put it at a later time. Yom HaShiva hoyo alayom tichsi ve'yonen ha'choshech. The cloud and the darkness separated between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of the Jews. Ubimidrash be'echad hoya choshech. From where did this darkness come from? Rabbi Yehuda from Nehemiah. It's an argument. Rabbi Yehuda omer mechoshech shel malo. This darkness came from above. Shenemar cites a verse. Yosheis choshech sisro. God extends darkness in his concealed location. Svivosov sukoso. It encircles and comes upon him. Rabbi Nehemiah omer choshech shel Gehenim. The darkness was from Gehenna, spiritual hell. Shneimar eretz efoso kvo ofel salmoves lo sudar matkan. It's interesting. It says originally God separated between the light and the darkness. He called the light day, and the choshech he called night. So Rashi explains over there that initially there was no set time for day or light. He separated between day and night, darkness and light. The day period is called day, the night period, Vayerev Yivoka Yom Echad. So over there, Ramban takes issue with Rashi. When we speak about separating something, you have something which is a substance, you have A and B, and you separate the two substances. But if darkness, as Rashi learns, is an absence of light, that's not called separating. You're not separating night from day. That's not called separation. You're just saying light will not shine during a certain period. So he has difficulty with God separated. So Ramban learns the choshech we're talking about is the dark, it's black fire, which is Gehenna. Similar to what he's saying over here. The choshech that they endured, that they experienced, was what? Choshech shel Gehenna. It emanated from Gehenna. This is something which is substances, something. It's a tangible. Birzeh, ki l'das Rabbi Yehuda, hachoshech tomin more al heder. What is darkness? Symbolism-wise, what does it represent? Vacuum. Darkness is a lack of light. That's what darkness is. Heder means there's an absence, there's a vacuum. Or moral hametzius, just as light represents reality because visually you're able to see, it illuminates. Kein hachoshech moral heder. Darkness indicates vacuum, absence. Because since a person cannot function in the dark, for all intents and purposes, whatever's available in the world has no relevance. So what is darkness? Represents inactivity, lack of productivity, vacuum. That's what darkness represents. It's interesting. The Gemara says in Sanhedrin, Lo ivri leila elo legirsa. What did God create? Night. So a person should study Torah. A person would be productive 24 hours a day. He would never study. When night comes, he's forced to stop working. So what is the value? Is it just sleep away the night? Legirsa. To review the Torah. Girsa is referring to Torah Sheba'al Peh. So Torah Sheba'al Peh is what? So visually you don't have to see it. This is before it was recorded. Right? Legirsa means to review the text. We're talking about the text of the Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral Torah. So for that nighttime, we can engage with one another. Even though there's a slight degree of light, I could just see you and you could see me. It doesn't have to be light enough that you should be able to read. It's good. So it's vacuum representing in what? Vacuum within the context of physicality. But factually, it's the ultimate. It's the ultimate in innate value. That is the objective. Just thinking. It says, after Hashem created the whole world, it says, Hashem saw that all that he created was tov ma'od. So there's a question, what's ma'od? So one opinion, Midrash says ma'od, the letters ma'od and odom are the same letters. That's ma'od. Of course, what's the objective of the world? The human being, because he has choice. So that's tov ma'od. The human being is the ma'od. The other interpretation is tov ma'od is yetzarah, the evil inclination. That's tov ma'od. Why? Because without an evil inclination, there's no context of choice. So that you have a choice to do wrong or do right, that gives value to all your accomplishments. Otherwise, the accomplishment has no value, right? Because you naturally do the right thing. And it's not natural. It's because I took the initiative to do the right. Okay? So that's ma'od. So what gave special value? What made everything exceptional? The Yetzirah, the evil inclination. It's the Medrash. Now, the Ramchal writes in the Das Tfunos, the knowing heart, what is the value of evil? The value of evil is not to do evil. To refrain from evil. That's the value. Okay? What's the value of night? What is night? Night is vacuum. Night represents, we're talking about Yetzirah. Night is, Olam Hazeh is night. Vayerev Vayivoker. Mora says, Olam, after Mashiach comes, that's Boker. Everything will be clear. Vayakhel Melech Kol Haaretz. Presently, we're in the dark. How do you illuminate that dark? With Torah. Right? The Rambam, Hilchos Talmud Torah, states that the primary time one should study Torah is at nighttime. Why? And he quotes a pasuk, a verse in Eichel, that Yirmiyah Hanavi, he sees the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, the first temple, and he says, Kumi Roni Balaylo, rise and sing out at night. At night. This is night, destruction. And the Rambam says, what's Rina? Kumi Roni. Ain't Rina Ela Torah. What is the song of the Jew? That's Torah. Because the only way you could illuminate that darkness is only with Torah. Otherwise, total confusion. What you think is good is no good, and what is no good you think is good. So how do you give a semblance of clarity to that darkness? Kumi Rani Balayla. Rise and read the Torah. So Choshech represents void, vacuum. What does Choshech represent for the Jew? For the Jew, that is the most important time. When you're not distracted and preoccupied with the material, which we have to be to a degree, nighttime, you're forced to cease. That's when you really are most effective. That's Ivri Leilo Ella Girsa. people say, I have all this time on my hand. I just have so much time to kill. That's the way people speak. They have time to kill. I mean, the famous story with the Chofetz Chaim, this American Jew came to see the Chofetz Chaim. And, it's interesting. I say, everybody's excited. This new newsreel that came out about the Chofetz Chaim from 1923. And they say, did you see the picture of the Chofetz Chaim? And everybody's getting excited. Did you see his picture? The original picture wasn't the correct picture. It wasn't accurate. It was touched up by an artist. Did you see it? It's unbelievable. So I said, what are you getting excited about what he looked like? What about what he said? What about his teachings? Do you get excited about his teachings as what he looked like? That nobody's getting excited about. So this person came to visit the Chofetz Chaim. He heard so much. American Jew, wealthy Jew, an observant Jew. And the Chofetz Chaim says, in America they say, the Chofetz Chaim, pearls of wisdom. In America they say, time is money. Time is money. He says, but you know what the truth is? Money is time. Meaning, when do you have time? If you have money, you're able to invest time as it should be invested. But if you don't have money, you're forced to use the time to earn money. So it's just the opposite. It's not time is money, money is time. But what's the time? There's no vacuum. A Jew is permitted, when is a Jew permitted to cease from studying Torah? If you're forced. You have to sleep, you have to eat, you have to work, you have to do certain things. What about if there's no need to work? You've earned sufficient amount of money. Okay, now you can utilize the time. Because again, there's no such thing as vacuum by a Jew. Night is not a vacuum. There's no such thing as idleness. The Gemara says, it's a Mishnah, that a woman has certain responsibilities in a relationship with her husband. Whatever she has to cook, different things. What about if she comes from a wealthy family and she brings slaves into the marriage? Right? So she doesn't have to clean, she doesn't have to spin thread, cloth. No, she has her slaves doing it. She brings a whole group of slaves in, a retinue of slaves. But the Gemara says, even though she has slaves, there's certain chores she has to attend to. Why? Because idleness brings to senility. Idleness is destructive. But that's the woman. What about the man? There's no such thing as idleness. Because a man has an obligation to study Torah. A woman who has no obligation to study Torah, so unless she does something, she's occupied with something which is constructive and of value, idleness brings to senility. We talk about dementia. People in this world, they don't behave like they have dementia. They have dementia. Seriously. Because they're not occupied with anything of substance. But the man, regardless, he has what to be occupied with. Because there's no helim, there's no vacuum, there's no void. Because we have Torah. Now, what existed pre-existence? Void. Tov v'vo. There was no form, there was no substance, there was nothing. So, what preceded existence? Void. Vacuum. So what does it say in the Torah? There was choshech al pnei som. Darkness on the deep waters. What does that mean? Void, vacuum. Yesh choshech kodem mitziuso. V'z nikra choshech ha'elyon. Hamafsik ben Hashem Yisborach ben olam. That void, that vacuum separates between, by God, there's no such thing, chas v'sholom, as vacuum. That's outside of God. As it says, we say, Baruch HaMokim Baruch Hu. Hashem is Makom Shel Olam. God is the basis for existence. The world is not the basis. That's not His location. He is the location of the world. Eina Olam Makom Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu Elohu Makom Shel Olam. He gives meaning and value and reality to existence. Shenemar Yoshes Choshech Sisro. V'zeh who is Baruch Nitzchi. God is eternal. Right? Ato Rishon, Ato Achron. There's no beginning, there's no end. Hashem is coined as what? Ein Sof. There's no end. There's no beginning, there's no end. God is infinite. Nimtza Acha Heder. Va'olam Nimtza Acha Heder. The world is finite. There was a vacuum, then came about a reality. So something preceded. V'nei yoshes choshech sisro, v'zeh ha'heder dovik ba'olam, mitzaras choloso. This world, what is their relevance to vacuum? You could have vacuum in this world. Because what preceded this existence? Within physicality, there is vacuum. There's void. That's part of creation. What's the process of creation? Void, darkness, formation. Right? That's the order. So this world has relevance to vacuum and void. Because that was the Hascholah. It began with that. ומצד בחינה זו שיש בעולם הדר מצד השכולוסו בעולם מצרים חושך שהוא הדר or what is darkness? It's a lack of light. An absence of light is darkness. ועוד יש הדר בעולם העולם וזה כי הבריאו שנברו דבק החיסרון בו. He says, the world that was it created as a perfect world? No, it wasn't created perfect. What is a lack of perfection? Deficiency. That's also, it's a void. There's something lacking. Nothing exists which is absolute. The only one who's absolutely perfect is God himself. Outside there's nothing which is absolute. Avodovik bibriya olam heder. So what's associated, attached to this world? Vacuum. V'zeu Gehenum. Shu heder abriyo. Gehenum represents the vacuum, the void of existence. Now, Rav Chaim Volozhin, based on the Zohar, explains what is Gehenum. Is there a location called Gehenum? There's no location called Gehenum. When a person sins, he creates a negative force. Each person creates his own Gehenum. But of course, so what does it mean God created Gehenum? It means that as a result, when you transgress and you violate the Torah, the creation of that negative force, that is Gehenum. But what is that? What is that? That's a derivative of deficiency. Deficiency in spirituality, or something which is contrary to spirituality, which is viable, that's called Gehenum. That's the consequence of sin. So that anyone who deserves to go into the oblivion, or to be in a state of void and vacuum, Yovel Gehenum, that's where he's going. He's going to Gehenum. Shesham heder habriya v'chesar habriya. Because that represents the deficiency, the vacuum, the void of existence. When God brought the plague of darkness on the Egyptians, Hevi aleim heder mitzad ke'abriya dovik v'heder chisorin. It's because that's v'cholkim ezer korov yosel lahovik. Ki lamandiyom achoshech. So what's the argument? Choshech can either mean Gehenum or can mean a void, which is lack of light. Which is more logical that he brought upon them? Right? What does Egypt represent? They denied God's existence. After all the plagues said and done, it says, Vayakhel Hashem eslei paro. God hardened his heart because he wasn't willing to listen. Not willing to listen, what does that mean? Something seriously wrong. There's a vacuum, there's a void. So, what do you deserve? You deserve to be associated with a void. What represents void? Is it ordinary darkness, which is the absence of light? Or is it the ultimate of what represents void and vacuum, which is Gehenum? Because that is really, that in its essence, it represents deficiency. That has greater relevance to the plague. Why? God has no relevance to darkness. Choshech, void, only has relevance to something which is finite. It's lacking in perfection. To what degree is it lacking in perfection? That's the question. Darkness means that's the extreme level of lacking in perfection. Hashem has no relevance to anything which is lacking. He's perfect in the absolute sense. God has no relevance to darkness. Okay? Ve'im nivroim achar heder, ולמדנו מן החושך גיהנם שהוא קורב יוסר אל מצרים. המקבלים, they are the ones who deserve to be punished. So they're going to be the recipients of void. So what relevance do they have? They have relevance to Gehenna because of their behavior, their paganism, the way they enslaved the Jews and the way they denied God. What do they have greater relevance to? Actually, the Gehenna. Gehenna is the punishment. That is an expression of what they are. So therefore, he says, when it says Choshech, that blackness, that darkness, was Gehenna. Gehenna has relevance to Rishon, to evil people. It's interesting, just thinking. When Hashem destroyed Sodom, cosmic destruction, exactly when did it happen? As night was ending and day was beginning. Why? So Rashi says, cites the Medrash, because if he would have destroyed him during the daytime, what would the moon worshippers say? You see? They couldn't be destroyed at night. It was when the sun was out. And if they were destroyed at night, what are the sun worshippers going to say? You see? The deity of sun wouldn't have allowed it. It was only at a time when it was dark, when the moon was. So what does Hashem do? He brings it, he destroys them exactly when they coexist, the sun and the moon, to show neither have any power. Right? That's Rashi and Chumash. I was thinking, when we say light represents something which is not void, which is not vacuum. Productivity, function, value, all that. That's only relevant to what? The darkness. In reality, anything in the physical sense has no innate value. It's only a means to bring about something else. You could build the Taj Mahal 1,000,000 times over. What's its value? Oh, it's a work of beauty. But what's its innate value? It has no value. Unless it somehow facilitates God's will, it has no value. It's perception-wise, darkness is definitely void, vacuum. Inactivity. Now we could talk about utilizing the world, advancing the world. But in truth, what is it? Neither have value. So when does Hashem destroy Sodom? They use the world to the utmost. They were chatoim v'roim Hashem od. They recognized God and they defied Him. This is what we call lahachis. They were defiant people. When does God destroy them? You think your productivity has value? Your day is like night. It's one and the same. So He destroyed him at the moment where they both coexisted. To say that light, as much as it illuminates, as much as you're able to accomplish, what's its value? Vacuum. Deficiency. Let's talk about Makas Bechoros. Bachatzos halaylo. Exactly at midnight. Now, what's the difference between pre-midnight, post-midnight? The halach, the way it's cited in Svarim, the Ramchal speaks about this. For instance, Slichos, one doesn't say before midnight. After midnight, you say Slichos. Why? Because night represents Midas Adin, the attribute of justice. If the intensity of justice is in effect, you're going to go supplicate Hashem for Rachmim. It's not the right time. So wait after midnight. Why? So Ramchal explains, because after midnight, that's the time which is associated with day. So even though it's not the ultimate of Rachmim, but it has relevance to Rachmim. So therefore we say Slichos after midnight. Okay? What about Bachatzos? It's not prior to midnight, it's not post-midnight. Exactly. What does that say? That's when Makas Bechoros happens. Rachmim, that you're being destroyed. Even Rachmim and Din agree, you people have to be destroyed. Right? That's the message. Because even Rachmim says you people don't deserve to exist. Rachmim is only if there's a chance. chance of recovery. There's no chance of recovery here. Moshe, when he comes to Paro, he says, about midnight, the firstborn of Egypt are going to die. So he cites the Gemara in Brochos. Pishu perkama de Brochos. Mashama kachatzos. When he communicates it to Paro, he says, about midnight. Ubemak, except when actually the plague came, when did it come? Ksiv ahi bachatzos halaylo. Exactly at midnight. So it was exact what he said about. Because Moshe understood. Does anybody know the exact moment of midnight? Only God knows. And Moshe knew. But the stargazers of Egypt, the expert astrologers say, Moshe, it didn't happen exactly as you said. But of course, it's their miscalculation. So Moshe, you're a liar. You said exact, it did not happen. It was worth 1/1,000,000th of a nanosecond. You understand? This is what they said to him. Moshe said, I'm not getting involved here. Right? So he said, about, not to get distracted with this. So again, the kasha, the Maral asks a question. So Moshe is saying, about. So evidently that means you don't know exactly what midnight is. And God doesn't know what midnight is. It's difficult. I mean, he's representing Hashem and not in a good light. The reason why he says, of course, they're going to be mistaken. But if God is supposed to be God and you're his agent, you should know exactly when that moment is. So why did you say exact? You can't win, as they say. That's his question. The astrologers, stargazing, say Moshe doesn't know the exact moment. The mashma somuch lechatzi alaylo or lachatzi ze she'eno ze she'eno. He said the word kachatzos could mean exactly midnight. As he says, it says kalos hashachar, when the dawn will come. The vari pirush kachatzos como kalos hashachar, kalos. Pirush b'shor sheyeh zeh she'alaylo nechlak, ze b'shas chiluk atzmo, b'shas chiluk atzmo. Elish mkomoki shefrish godel ki bachatzos hu poel como kalos. That it's happening. When midnight is happening, kachatzos, it doesn't mean about, he's explaining, very important. It means when midnight is happening. V'ef shetia pula rak bizman. If something is happening, that has relevance to time. When is the first plague happening? As midnight is happening. As midnight is happening, what's happening? It's a verb. Happening. When it'll be exactly at the midpoint. When night is split, the first half, the second half. Sha'afim hoyu svurma tagnim shamako hoyu kmo chatzi shor lifnei chatzos lachatzos. Even if they'll say it was a half an hour before midnight, after, that's what the stargazers, they'll interpret as that. Kev shloshim kachatzos nemar al zman ma. So they'll say that's what Moshe meant. What he actually meant was kachatzos when midnight happens. But let's say when midnight is actually, they think it's half an hour before. Oh, that's what Moshe says. As midnight is happening, that could be even be half an hour afterwards, or even half an hour afterwards. It's possible they could be off that much. Ki ain't shir mugbalo. Rak shalosh kachatzos al zman. Mashalayl mischalik bo. Lo yomer mi'ato Moshe badoihu. Not say Moshe is a liar. Moshe is trying to mislead us. That was the whole idea. Shaloshim mashim poel. It means as it's happening. A half an hour before it's happening. Midnight is happening. When will it happen? In a moment, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whenever it's going to happen. Chopol Bisman. Came Sheish Kan Zman Yeshlom Al Shosho Hoyutoin is Azman Shenechel Bo Alaylo. Ava Bachatzi. What do we say? At midnight. At midnight, nothing's happening. That expression. That's a fact. If you say as midnight is happening, that means something's evolving. That has to do with time. Time is moving. Aval Hushem Dover Pirush Bachatzi Legamri. Zev Vadi Yishtos. There they can say Moshe made a mistake. Because when you say it's exactly midnight to us, it was a minute before midnight. Or a minute after midnight. Shem Hoyot Dinim Sovrim Shuktzas Rochok Minachatzi Halaylo. Yom Moshe Badoy. They say, Moshe, what are you trying to fool us? You're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. Umeata lo yikshe shiyu omri Moshe lo yoda shrei omer kachatzos veinu mashma legarmi b'chatzi halaylo. Okay. The zebvari lo yikshe rak ilu omer shtiyamaka kmo b'chatzi halaylo sherev Moshe shlo yoda asma ma'atzmo avlim pirish kimashmo ke'achelek halaylo ke'cholek halaylo. As the night is splitting, as it's dividing. Avagav lo mashma loshen b'chatzi alayl gamri lo yom lishulzeh Moshe lo yoda. That's no indication you didn't know, because as midnight is coming, came shashir ashekava hu shir gomur. Shilo yom balay lo hazeh yadov hazeh. Let's say Moshe said, why do you say it's simple? The night of the 15th, the plague will come. Finished. So you encompassed everything. Now over there, they can't accuse him of being a liar or not being in touch or whatever. The night of the 15th, the plague. When? During the night. You're playing safe. Right? What could he be accused of? Nothing. He says, if Moshe would have expressed it that way, it doesn't indicate that Moshe doesn't know. Because he didn't say it. He says, during this time, Hashem, I'm not telling you when, but during the night time of the 15th, it's going to happen. Came Shazman Shehigbil Zman Mevuror. V'dov Zenochel. Vod Yireh Ki Lekach Chutzru Azal Doma Sheperush Kachatzos Eino Legamri B'Chatzi. Kachatzos doesn't mean exactly a minute. It means, as he said, evolving. Lo Pirshu Kachatzos Como Kalos HaShachar. Zo Kalos Legamri. V'ochanami Yesh Leforesh Chelek Halaylo Ki Cholek Halaylo Hu Mekor Binyan Hakal. Okay, leave it. You know, it's very interesting. I went to a conversation with a person, and the person didn't believe in God, so we were involved working on this for a number of weeks, and I proved to him rationally, logically, there has to be a God. How do you have a world so perfect? The symmetry, the balance, this couldn't have come about. There was a creator. Okay? So he says to me, I hear what you're saying. I can't argue with you, but I have a question to ask you. Why was there a Holocaust? The story goes back 25 years ago. Why was there a Holocaust? I said, what does that question have to do with it is a God? Well, if you can't answer that question, I can't accept what you're saying. It has no relevance. You understand? You only need an excuse to say, see, if you can't answer that means your position is not cogent. It's not compelling. Because you have no answer on that. You can't refute it. Doesn't make sense any other way. Well, you can't tell me that. It's not, you know, you may be off, Moshe, everything, there were 9 plagues, the 10th, and it's happening, but it's not exactly as he said it was going to happen. It was off slightly. Moshe, you're a liar. But what does that have to do with it? Actually, you're being decimated, you're being destroyed. It's happening. But it wasn't the exact moment you said it was going to happen. You understand? When a person wants to be in a state of denial, you just need an excuse to reject. What's going to happen when the Malchus Bechoros comes? Umes ko bechor beretz Mitzrayim. Every firstborn in Egypt will die. And who is that? Mibchor Paro, even the firstborn of the prince. Paro's firstborn. Ad bechor Hashivcha. Even the maidservants' firstborn. Ubmasik Siv. Bechor Hashevi, Asher Beisabor. Even the firstborn of what? Of the captive that's in the dungeon. Yeshu Foresh. So it's a question. When he forewarned them about the plague, he mentioned who's going to die from the highest echelon to the lowest echelon. What's the lowest echelon? Bechor Shivcha, the firstborn of the maidservant, of the slave. But when it actually happens, it introduces a new person. The firstborn of the Shevi, of the captive, who's in the dungeon, who's rotting in the dungeon. First, when he first introduced it, he says, it's a forewarning. Forewarning. You people don't back down now. I'm telling you what's coming down the pike. That's a forewarning. The firstborn of the prince, of the king, even down to the shivcha. Hear this. When you forewarn a person, what do you want? What are you warning him for? What reason? To put the fear of God in him. But you realize, the firstborn of the captive will die. Let him die. It's to instill fear in him. If it's the firstborn of the slave, that's a financial loss. So that's a forewarning. You don't behave yourself, you're going to pay the price. The prince is going to die, and the firstborn of your slave, that's your chattel, that's your asset. What, I'm going to tell you what? The firstborn of the captive will die, so let them die. That's not an asset. Right? As a result of that, there's no mention of the Bechor Beis HaShevi, the firstborn of the one in the dungeon, who's, right, in the prisoner. They couldn't care less about the firstborn of the captive. That's Makas Mitzrayim. So now we have a question. And Rashi addresses this. So why factually? If the plague is a plague, it's because you're hurt. Because it's either the person's child or his asset. So why did the Bechor of the Shevi die? Say it's not part of the plague. So Rashi himself says, because if they don't die, what is the person with the captive? What do you see? My God is stronger than your God. You see? You died, we didn't die. So it's not because of the plague. The whole idea of the plague is to punish you and also to show them who's in control. So in terms of punishment, it's not a punishment, the Egyptian, if the firstborn of the captive dies. But what about the message? What is it supposed to reveal? There's only one God. But if the firstborn of the captive doesn't die, does he see that? Why did your firstborn die, not ours? Evidently, our deity has value, protected us. So therefore, when it actually happened, the firstborn of all of them died. Only the firstborn of the Jew didn't die. It's very good. Simple pshat, understanding. Abchor hashivcho yeshbo makulim. That's a loss. That is a plague. Why? Show you eved osim melocha. You have a slave. This bechor who died had a potentially would have grown into to age, to assume physical responsibilities, chores. But when it actually happened, what does the Torah tell us? Who died? Who was smitten? A, B, C, D, all the way down the line, including the captive. That's from the highest to the lowest. The Gore Yosef Harbi min Abchor Shivcho Shari Yesh Shavui. Shari Shavui, he's captive. He's a captive. V'lo mash'af u'lo nitzel. V'nilke Bchor Shevi Gamne Shayu Smechim. Hear this? He says, because they rejoiced. The Bchor in the Shevi, he rejoiced. Le'ed Yisrael. You know, when the Jews were suffering, not only did the Egyptians laugh, even the lowly captive in the dungeon, he was happy. That was his moment of happiness. You're happy that, you know something? You're going to have what to grieve over. You're going to rot in that dungeon over the body, over the corpse of your child. But when he forewarned him to put the fear of God in him, it's not a question of financial loss to Paro. So what do we have to talk about? The slave the firstborn of the captive. Okay, good pshat, phenomenal pshat. Ubagoda etzel Elohein eser makos. We say these are the 10 plagues. Right, Nagoda. No, you're not too far off from Barcelona. Okay. She'evi HaKadosh Baruch al Mitzrayim b'Mitzrayim al Mitzrayim Mitzrayim. The 10 plagues that Hashem brought upon the Egyptians in Egypt. Shemizbarin hamakos lomabo ela makos davkal Mitzrayim al Mitzrayim b'Mitzrayim. Hashem ta'ayim v'timsa taimim nechon abruim. He offers correct and very cogent and clear reasoning. V'odish loma al osan atayim ish niskarm sham kibo davka b'seir hazeh. Why did it come dam tzvadeh? Right, kinim in that. Kikashe Paro lohoya mamid bo yizborach. Paro had a problem. He did not believe in God, and the more he hit him over the head, the more he went into a state of denial. Kumoshe Omar mi Hashem ashesh mekolo lo yodati es Hashem. This is who's God. Took out his, it says he took his encyclopedia of deities. It's not listed. Lo yodati Hashem. I don't even know who he is. I may be an unknown in your book, but it's going to be a new entry after the 10 plagues are over. That's the objective of the 10 plagues. First you have to know he's the ruler of the world. And it has that. Water is the fundamental of life. So what do? Poison the wells. In no drinking water. He started with something which is under the earth. It's not the terrestrial level, it's under the earth. Right? The water under the earth. The world, what is the foundation of the world? Water. Understand? Water, could that be a foundation? Hashem, that's the foundation. And on rivers, he established it. The herald of Pharaoh, that's the reason why the Yor was smitten. Kashelo Shov, what happens? He didn't do tshuva. Paro. Memneshes who show Yosovo Shemeim Mamshalto Rak Betachton Hatachtonim. Here it says maybe that's only the water table, the underground water table. That's what he has control over. Where do you find frogs? There are no frogs in the underground water table. They're a little further up. Hebi aleim hatzvardim, heim hanivroim shem dorim b'mayim, v'em yosef b'malim min hamayim atzvan. They don't come from so far down. That means they're more advanced. It's a more advanced stage. Ki hamayim mokum nivroim shem b'socho. The water is the location for the living, to live within the water. Kachamayim hem yosef tachton nivroim shem b'socho hamayim sam yosef el yamin, like this. What is the purpose of the water? It should be the habitat for the frogs. So that means the water is serving the frog. So who's more elevated? The frog is more elevated. Maybe he doesn't have control of anything more than the water and the frogs. Nilka offer. So what happens? The dust, the earth turns into lice. Smite the dust of the earth, and it will be kinim, lice. Now what's orov? Orov is above the ground, right? Yeah. So we started water, frogs that live in the water, the earth, the ground itself, and now we're going. What's above the ground? What's above the ground? Predator animals. Orov. They are the what was created that dwell on the ground, on the earth. He smoked the dust, and what, like fish, first it was the water, then it was the frogs in the water. So first it's the earth, and now it's what lives upon the earth. What is that? It's the animals. Akachika dorim aleo ve'morov shemachayos dorsos ve'hem dorim al oretz. The predatory, undomesticated animals, which they live on the earth. Va'akach kashel chozar. And even after that, when he didn't do tshuva, what does Hashem do? Hevi ad dever. What's dever? Dever is what? Plague, pestilence. Shu ipo shu avi shu yosel amay lebavi oritz. It's like the air is unclean, is diseased. You know? It's like we talk about pollution. That's dever. V'akach hevilim shchin shu maka so'esh shel maylo. In the avir, ki hashchin hu miloshen chamimus. He says the word shchin is an expression of warmth. You know, sometimes if you have a boil, you touch it, it's warm, because the blood gathers there. It's an abnormality. Hanasa ideo eish HaKadosh Baruch Hu maybe eish min hayesod or eish hu mizeh mekabel od mashchin. Borod hu od yosef mamaylo. Borod is more advanced. Vishu min hashmayim ha'aviri. That comes from further up. Omnom arba hu yosef elyon. But it's even more advanced than what? Than the hail, because we're talking about it comes from above also. It's blown in with the wind, but it's alive. Borod is just a what? It's inanimate, a block of ice. The fish arbu of hu yofi fal pnei orakia shamayim hu orakia aviri kashi yadua. Okay, we're going to stop here.